welcome to week 2 of the Sports Centred Weekly Roundup podcast. I'm delighted again to be joined by Maria Thompson and Matt Brown. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, good. Can't complain.
Yeah, all good. All good, thank you.
Good, good. Right, so it's been another crazy week in sport, so we will try and run through it again, but let's start off with football and the VAR controversies. Obviously, there's a lot been going around, but we'll start off with one of the first ones in the West Ham Arsenal game. The goal that never was with Callum Wilson. Firstly, what do we think? Should it have been a goal? Should it have been disallowed? Or was there too many fouls in the build-up anyway?
I think there's probably too many fouls in the build-up anyway. But I mean, it is a foul on David Raya, but goalkeepers get these every single week for no real reason. I think goalkeepers have always been more protected. If that happens to a centre half going up for a header, I don't think it's really given. But yeah, I think it's probably the right call not to give it. Really, if you have to look at it, but yeah, it doesn't mean it's not controversial.
I think what people are struggling with is the inconsistencies, isn't there? Like, I think it's been a bit of a free-for-all, especially for Arsenal, leading up from set pieces. Like you've probably seen it over the weeks, like a couple of clips of Gabriel and things like that holding keepers, and yet Arsenal were allowed to do it. So I think that's why people were a bit annoyed. Obviously, like I said before, as a Spurs fan, sort of a little bit of a glee when it did get disallowed, or relief as such. But as a football fan, you just think, come on, like say Declan Rice was holding Mavropanos, so could that have been a penalty? Yeah, there was contact, but I can't remember who it was that they were being held as well before they had their arm across Rice. So it's tough, isn't it, when you kind of think VAR is ruining football? Like, what are your opinions? Do you think VAR is being used correctly? Do you think it should stay?
It's such a tough one because I think the concept of VAR is a really good idea. I think it should be a really good system. I don't think our level of officiating in this country is good enough. I think that really the inconsistency that we see on the field goes into VAR as well. And yeah, I think it's not the technology that's the problem. I think it's those that are using it that's the issue. I think it works perfectly well in other countries and other major tournaments, and it works not necessarily under the same name, but it works well in other sports. You know, we look at the way that the TMO works in rugby. You look at the systems that they have in cricket and tennis, and they all work with the technology that they have. I think English football just has that problem of the level of officiating isn't at the standard that it needs to be.
No,
And with what Matt was saying, I also think that I don't watch a lot of football, but I also think that some things get picked up by it in some games, whereas you'll get some at completely different ends of the season where they just brush it under the carpet and move on. And obviously I get how the weekend's one was controversial considering it's the end of the season, but as Matt said, for me, it's too inconsistent. I mean, even at international level, but if they want it to improve and to be used exactly the way they want, there will be mistakes. But yeah, it's kind of controversial if things get called for other teams and certain teams, whereas they don't for others. So it can be improved that way as well.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think Matt's spot on as well. I think it's the level of consistency and the level of officiating in England, I think is not good enough. Like say, they're able to implement TMO well enough in the rugby. Yeah, you're always going to get some decisions. And I think when you've got your own team bias, you're always going to think, oh, well, that's going against us. But it sort of leads on to the Spurs Leeds game. I think the level of officiating, I said it in one of my posts, Jared Gillett is officiating throughout the game. Again, it might be my own Spurs bias, but the level of consistency, we got nothing in that game. And I guess they say sometimes when you're at the end of the wrong end of the table, those decisions don't go for you. So obviously the penalty for Leeds, in my opinion, again, I thought it was harsh. what Tel was doing, trying to do a bicycle kick in your own box. I don't know. But he was sort of already in the process of doing it. And I think the Leeds player then jumped into it. Yeah, there was contact. And you can see why it was given. And if the shoe was on the other foot, you'd be calling for that as a penalty. What do you guys think? Penalty? And I know, Matt, you're a child.
100%. With a non-biased opinion in the podcast, I think, yeah, I did look it back because I was curious what you guys would talk about in the chat we've got, but I do think it should have been, and it should have been kept. So,
yeah, I think, yeah, it's fair enough. Like, obviously, in the heat of the moment, you think, no, never a pen, everything's going against us. But taking my biased hat off, yeah, if it was given for us, you'd be like, yeah, no, 100%, it's a pen. But then leading on to the other controversial decision, obviously the penalty that then wasn't given for James Maddison. Obviously, he's probably got himself into hot water now with his post, because he's now said, obviously, the touch that where you saw the trajectory of the ball given was made with Maddison's foot, and how can there be all these angles in a football match in a stadium, especially Spurs' stadium, yet they only look at it for like 10 seconds. For me, and I think some even who I've spoken to, West Ham fans have also said it was a penalty. So I think even when West Ham fans, when they're considering we're both battling each other for relegation, say it's a pen, it should be. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think they're both penalties.
Yeah, I think as well. In that game, for instance, Spurs didn't do enough. We weren't good enough, and we did show that same intensity that we did against Villa. So we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. If Richarlison nails that, scores that goal in the second half, 2-0, I don't see Leeds getting back into it. But yeah, we go down to the final 2 games of the season. Obviously, just in the game as well, just Kingsley, some of his saves, 2 probably of the best saves of the season, apart from Raya's potentially against West Ham. Yeah, unbelievable. But yeah, obviously also VAR have come out, I think, today saying that they made mistakes. There were 2 in the West Ham game, wasn't there? And then the Everton game. So I think something they need to look at it, maybe look at the TMO model in rugby and see how best they can implement it, really. But staying with football, going on to the Scottish Premier League, insane. Absolutely insane. Obviously, Celtic given a very controversial penalty. And yeah, going down to the final day, and just so happens that the 2 competing for the league title are playing each other, Celtic and Hearts. What do we think? Who do you think is going to get that title?
It'll probably be Celtic. I think you've already said when you're down the bottom, you don't get those decisions going your way. When you're at the top, you get them. It's never a penalty in a million years. I don't get it at all. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they were given that penalty so late on in the game as well. They didn't really deserve anything from that performance. So to come away with that penalty right at the death, I think they'll win it. It'll be a fascinating game. Rangers should have been in with a shot, but they've managed to play themselves out of the title. They were fine against Celtic in the first half, really, and then just fell apart completely. And I think Celtic are just going to be too good tomorrow. And yeah, I think they'll win yet another league title.
Obviously, yeah, their experience obviously continues over them or Rangers normally that win the league. So it would actually, for a neutral point of view, be good to see someone like Hearts. Yeah. I think it's the first time in 20 years, isn't it, that another team will win the league since Sir Alex Ferguson, wasn't it, at Aberdeen? So yeah, unreal. It'd be good if they can get it across the line. But yeah, and talking of craziness, we've had Spygate in the playoffs. Obviously, Southampton and Middlesbrough. Obviously, it's been announced that I think they're going to have a look and investigate it, and the court hearing will be before the playoff final. So could Southampton lose their place in that playoff final? How much money could that cost? Do you think they should lose their place in the playoff final? How much impact do you think that is going to have? Obviously, somebody watching them train on the outcome.
I mean,
why would you do it?
Have you seen the photo?
A guy with a phone behind it next to a tree. It's like it is a meme, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, if you've not noticed him standing there, you deserve to be spied on. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, how stupid can you be if you can't see that? Because
I mean,
it,
the question for others, I think, is, you know, how many games did they spy on? Is it just this one? Um, I still think they should be in the playoff final. I think they'll probably be heavily fined, rightly so. But I mean, this isn't even the first time a club has done this in the playoffs. Leeds did it, what, 7 years ago or something, with Marcelo Bielsa? And it became a whole thing then. But I don't think it kicked off anywhere near this amount. And I think that's because Leeds then lost the second leg. If Southampton had lost, this will get swept under the rug. But because they've gone through, it seems to carry on. And I think that's the issue. And it's Hull that I feel sorry for. Their fans are going to be paying for hotels and tickets and travel. They're not going to know who they're playing, when they're playing, or what's going on. Middlesbrough, yeah, they can kick off and complain, rightly so. But yeah, I think it is, weirdly, I think it is Hull that I feel for more than anyone here.
Yeah, it's like say they've already signed, sealed, delivered their place, and like say they can't prepare on who they're playing.
No.
Because Borough and Southampton are two not very different teams, but they're two different teams.
Yeah.
And the fans are sort of in limbo. Do they book tickets or book hotels, travel, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's added an extra interesting layer to the playoff finals. But
it's like I also feel sorry for the analysts for the club as well, because like, who do you do your analysis on? Like, do you do analysis for both teams or just the one, but then get the other? So it's like their job's going to be hard to work out whether they'll do both or one. So it's the analysis are going to have probably as tough time as the fans trying to work out who to look at and what to do in that situation.
They should get that guy in spying from Southampton. Get him
Exactly. That might be a better option.
Yeah.
And obviously more football headlines, potentially Jose Mourinho returning to the Bernabeu for Real Madrid. Is he going to stoke more fire on obviously a very tense situation with Valverde and Chumanel? Insane. Two players from the same team beating the living daylights out of each other. What do you do in that instance? It's madness. Obviously, I think Real Madrid, they're obviously often touted bad losers. And you can see why when obviously their players are beating the crap out of each other during training. Is Mourinho potentially the right appointment? Obviously, he's not one to shy away from a bad comment, or he's not always going to be that man manager who's going to put his arm around their shoulders. What do we think?
Why?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, first of all, why beat your teammate up? Like, surely there's better way. I know sportsmen, heat of the moment, you tend to do the first thing you think of, or not even think clearly in this situation, but why? Like, obviously saw that it happened, but like it confuses me why you would go to that level. But with Mourinho, sometimes I feel like he can be a bit hot-headed. So I personally think that whilst it might not be the best mix, maybe bosses at Real Madrid see a different thing that obviously you or I could. So that's where I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and I guess he's a strong manager as well, Mourinho. He might sort of put his foot down on the situation. He's not afraid to say what he thinks, so it could be the best thing. But yeah, just think it's absolutely crazy. Obviously, with Mbappe as well, there's a huge petition for him to be sacked as well. He got booed when he come on. It's just a very awkward situation at Madrid, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, they don't help themselves.
No.
I mean, they're a club that are used to winning everything, and Champions League this year, nowhere near. La Liga this year, nowhere near. I mean, teammates fighting is nothing new. I mean, I remember it over here, mid-2000s, Lee Bowyer, Kieran Dyer beating each other up on in the middle of the pitch for Newcastle, and then being wheeled out for a really awkward handshake outside the training ground.
Yeah.
And Bowyer I think Bowyer was kept and Dyer was released. But if you're Real Madrid, you can't release either of the players involved. They're just
No.
too good. It'd be ridiculous. Mourinho going back there, it makes sense. He, to me, feels like a Real Madrid manager. He's been there before. He was relatively successful there. They are such a big club with such a massive history, and I think the fan base are almost spoiled in how much success they've had. That when they don't necessarily have that good run, like this season, they've been so far behind Barcelona. Their fans are very quick to turn, but turning on players like Mbappe and whoever else it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, they are world class players. They are levels above a lot of other players. They've just underperformed this season. Yeah, I get that, but it still just doesn't make sense.
Well, we will stay tuned and see. Obviously, the Mourinho thing hasn't been confirmed either, so we'll see what happens. But also talking about management, it's been announced that Michael Carrick's been offered a 2-year deal to be the permanent manager of Man U. What do you think? Right appointment, considering what he's done for United this season?
Yeah, I think he's done such a brilliant job this season. He really has. I think it's almost a bit of a poison chalice with United in that you're expected to go in, you're expected to win trophies, be really competitive, challenging for the title every year. But let's be honest, that United squad at the minute isn't at that level, and yet Carrick has massively turned them around. I mean, we all remember Jamie Carragher saying about Casemiro and about leaving the football before the football leaves you, and he's been absolutely sensational since Carrick took over. He's really found that upturn in form. Bruno Fernandes has been one of the players of the season. United have looked like they are getting back on the right track. Whether we see what's happened at other clubs before, where the interim manager takes over permanently and things go back to how they were previously, where tools almost drop and players go back to under delivering. Who knows? But yeah, I think right now Carrick is probably the man for the job. Partly because I can't really think of anyone else that'd be suitable at this point, and I think that's probably where the United hierarchy are looking as well.
I agree. I think, like say, I think he deserves it after what he's done this season to turn United's fortunes around. What he's done, obviously, brought back Kobbie Mainoo and things like that. So, obviously, hasn't said that Carrick's agreed to it yet. But I think it is the right decision for him. So yeah, we will see. But staying on to the Premier League as well, there's no Premier League football this Saturday because it is the FA Cup final. Chelsea City. What are we saying? Is City going to be too strong for Chelsea, especially the form Chelsea's in?
More than likely, I think City, and I said it last week, the form that City are in, they're so strong at the minute. Chelsea, who knows? Who knows what Chelsea will turn up? Chelsea can have this habit of turning up for a big game when it's needed, and then not looking great in other games. I don't think it'll be an easy game by any means for City, but I do think that at the end of the day, they will win. I just think that the form that they are in, the players that they have, and I mean the players that are leaving at the end of this season, I think it'll be a way to send them off as well. John Stone's been a brilliant servant for the last 10 plus years, amongst others. I think they'll just have that little bit of extra something about them as well. So yeah, I think City will win it, but I don't think it'll be as easy as others might do.
Hopefully Chelsea will put all their eggs into this basket and then be be tired for our game against them on Tuesday. But yeah, obviously, like I mentioned, no Premiership games on Saturday, but Sunday, some of the big ones. We've got Newcastle, West Ham. So West Ham obviously got a win, 2 points behind Spurs. And then Monday, Arsenal versus Burnley. And then Tuesday, we've got Bournemouth City and then Chelsea Spurs. So huge ramifications at the top and bottom of the table. So we'll see what happens. It's getting a little bit too nervy. Obviously, I think if we beat Leeds on Monday, I think we would have done enough. But I think Newcastle aren't in the best of form at the moment. Still a tough game. Obviously, West Ham are away in St James's Park. It's tough.
I don't think it's a place they necessarily do that well either. I think it is quite a tough place for them to go. And I mean, I think Newcastle will want to be looking to finish this season on a positive note because they've not been good enough this year. I mean, like we said last week, they were in a position where they could get Europe, but they could also get relegated. And that's not where they should be. So I think Newcastle win that one, probably by a goal or two. I can't see really West Ham getting anything out of that one, but they need, as you say, they need the points going into these final few weeks.
Yeah, I think obviously looking at the fixtures, I think West Ham theoretically have the easier fixtures. Obviously Newcastle, and then it's Leeds last game of the season, isn't it? And then for
at home as well.
Yeah, for Spurs we've got Chelsea versus Spurs on Tuesday, and then we're home to Everton last game of the season, which is a tough game. I know we beat them. I think we drew with them earlier on in the season, so it's going to be tough and it's going to be too tight to call. I'd obviously, if we could get the win against Chelsea, we never do well at Stamford Bridge, but if by some miracle we could get the 3 points, I think we're then safe. But yeah, it's exciting times in the Premier League. But I thought we'll have a quick chat about cricket. Some obviously England selection for New Zealand coming to tour us beginning of June, 4th of June. Some good new players, some uncapped players. We've got Emilio Gay from Durham, averaging 92 in the county, doing very well. He's been called up. And James Rue for Somerset as well, averaging 77. And the return of Shoaib Bashir and Rayan Ahmed as well. Yeah. I think it's great to freshen up the England side. Obviously, Zach Crawley's been dropped. I think this is the right decision. He's not been playing well enough for a long, long time. I know Ollie Pope as well. But what do we think of, obviously, the uncapped players joining and obviously the Zach Crawley and Ollie Pope mission? What do we think?
I mean, the Crawley experiment has been a long time coming to an end. I think he has tested the patience of every England fan around the world with how he has performed. He should be so much better than he is. And it is incredibly frustrating because he can be a brilliant player, and for England we just don't see it. And I think Pope, I mean, I like Ollie Pope, but again, just not necessarily delivering when needed. It's good to use this sort of test periods to bring in a few new faces, test a few new things. The pressure is obviously on Baz McCullum, Rob Key, and those at the top. So it'd be interesting to see how things go. We need a win, really. I think this team needs to try and get a bit more confidence going. I think for so long now, this England team has been picked at by the media and by the fans for where things are going wrong. I think we almost need a summer now where they basically just shut everyone up. So, you know, we'll do an episode later in the year and we'll say, weren't England brilliant? weren't we just absolutely fantastic? It won't happen. But, you know, I can hope. I just think that we need to start using these newer players. Maybe a bit of a change in the guards. How long, you know, Baz and Rob Key and everyone will stick around with England. It will start depending on how these results go. So, yeah, hopefully a good summer in store. But I'm not going to hold my breath over it, in all honesty.
No. What do we think? There's a lot of people saying that the Bazball, it might have matured a little bit. We've not seen always this sort of same recklessness of it. Obviously, likes of Harry Brook and stuff like that coming in. And I think that's the frustration for England fans, isn't it? Because it's the lack of consistency. Seems to be sort of the tag word. It's the lack of consistency from the talented players who should be going out there almost thinking about getting that 150 rather than concentrating on getting to 50 first, then your 100 and building up on that. But there's been a couple of obviously changes. Sarah Taylor has been added to the coaching staff. Obviously the first female coach for a men's professional team. She's the fielding coach. I think it's a great addition. She's absolutely unreal for a player. So I think that's great for the game, great for the women's game as well, that they can then obviously be able to set that goal of not just going into men's teams, but coaching at that highest level as well. And obviously the Marcus North selection, he's the head of national selector. Obviously, it's another overseas selection. Do we see that as a problem for the English game, that we're having to constantly look abroad, or is it best to try and get the best out there?
I think with England, it is best to get the best that is out there. I think that's why we went for McCullum in the first place, because we deemed that he was the best out there to coach us and to lead us. Whether there are better options here, I don't know. I don't necessarily think there are. But what I do think, and I think it's the same in probably any sport, is that as a nation, we need to develop our own coaches, our own players, our own system. I think that we don't do enough necessarily in sport to convince former players that coaching is the best option. I think a lot of the time they can pursue a great career in media. They'll make big money doing that. And then we end up with mediocre coaching because they've not really experienced what you would want them to. They've not necessarily been at that highest level. So yeah, I don't think that overseas appointments are a bad thing, because I think you should go for the best. But I do think we should work harder on developing what we have in our country so that they do become the best of what is available.
No, 100% agree. Like I say, we'll stand by, and hopefully next week we'll have a chat, because the England Women's T20 World Cup is starting.
Yeah, can't wait.
It's kind of gone under the radar as well. I know on the Stick to Cricket podcast, they were like, it's kind of gone under the radar. It hasn't been given that massive push that it should. But hopefully we'll have a good chat about that next week. But leading on, Maria, it was obviously a very exciting time in the netball last week. You had your head in your hands a couple of moments.
Yeah, it was definitely the Friday night game with Panthers and Lightning. Panthers had a really great first half. They were up by 2 at half time, but Lightning woke up, as you would call it, and made the changes that they needed to, and ultimately came away with the win. I think if you weren't a Lightning fan, I think everyone else was kind of hoping that Panthers would keep the gap as close as possible. But I think ultimately Lightning was just too strong for them. There were 3 games on Saturday. I eventually caught up with all of them. From a Pulse perspective, that game wasn't great. There were, questions on social media whether they were hungover from the extra time win against Lightning the previous week, but they didn't look themselves. And unfortunately, obviously, loving Thunder as well, I was so conflicted with that game, because Thunder were great. They showed exactly who we all thought they would be. And at this stage of the season, it's great to see them that way. Now, with that, Pulse and Thunder have switched positions, which all 3 have made the Final Four, but it spices things up in terms of the semis. And leading on to that, Forest played Lightning tonight at 7, which, with having 2 games at 7, I'll definitely be watching that one, because if Forest win, that's their top 4 spot secured. But if they lose with the bonus point, which happened last time they played them in round 8, I think it was, they'll need the other 3 results that could impact them to go their way. So from my mate's perspective, she would prefer a win tonight, but they would need other teams to lose around them. So it's definitely going to be an interesting evening and weekend ahead. So Pulse play Mavs on Sunday, and hopefully Pulse will wake up, but that's another derby game. So hopefully London stays pink, but who knows? It'll either be pink or blue.
So how many games did the season are there?
Including this round, there are 3 rounds left. So this week's round 12, which is hard to believe that we're at this point already. Yeah. And then you've got next 2 weeks after that. the final normal weekend is the last weekend in May, and then you'll have the semi. So hopefully after either this weekend or next weekend, we'll find out roughly who has the home advantage for those games. And then we'll see where it goes from there. I would love keeping my pulse hat on. I would love for them to go back to back, but with how strong Lightning have been and how strong Thunder are getting, it may prove a bit of a challenge, but it would be really nice for them to at least make the final again. But also from a Forest perspective, equally, they are in the driving seat for that fourth spot. As I said last week, that I would love for them to get there because being their second season in the league, it would be nice to see the second year team to get what they just missed out on last year. So yeah, this weekend, I would have said last weekend was key, but this weekend definitely is going to be even more important for them. So
another big weekend, and
yes, and hopefully the next couple of weeks we'll find out the England squad for comms, but that's another headache in itself. So hopefully we'll find out in the next couple of weeks.
there's obviously been an injury crisis, hasn't there? Everyone seems to be dropping like flies.
Yes, so there's definitely a goalkeeper crisis. So it'll be interesting to see who has played before will get another cap or who hasn't got that elusive England cap. So that will definitely be interesting to find out soon.
Yeah, it opens up the pathway for, like, say, somebody who hasn't been selected before.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
it's a lot of pressure leading in for them. But
yeah, exactly.
But talking of pressure, we head into the final weekend for the Women's Six Nations, and the Grand Slam is still on for the Red Roses against France, who obviously also could win the Grand Slam. It's in France. What are we saying? Can we see past the Red Roses? Obviously, we saw them leak a couple of tries against Italy, again, losing that bonus point tries. What do we think? Can we see past the Red Roses? Obviously, the 37 game winning streak.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I mean, looking at the last results, obviously England have had against France. I can't see anyone else winning it, to be honest. I would be shocked if we didn't. So,
do you think we should be concerned about the amount of tries we are leaking, or do we think that's solely down to just the injury crisis we have at the moment? A couple of players returning. I think Sadio Kabaya should be returning as well. But is it something to be worried about, do we think?
I don't think so. I think if it was continuously happening, then maybe it's a cause for concern. But I think it's been more of a recent issue, and I think it is partly down to that injury crisis. We've had new players coming into the team that are still getting up to speed with the system, and yet we are still winning games comfortably. I also think that because we are winning those games comfortably, the fact that we're conceding tries doesn't really matter too much. If games were, being won by 3 points or something like that, then maybe you start to say we need to look at those areas where we're conceding the tries and see what's going on. But I think if you're still capable of putting 40 plus points on a team whilst conceding 21, then you've not necessarily got too much of an issue. I think also, you are going to concede tries, I think, in the style that England play, because it is quite attacking, it is quite open. You do leave yourself a little bit more open to conceding tries at times. So I think it's part and parcel of what they're trying to do. I mean, I think they will concede tries against France this weekend, but I do think they'll still win, and I think they will win probably by about 15 points or so. I don't think France will be able to match the level that England can reach. I think they are a very good side, but England are on this unbeaten run for a reason. They are the best side in the world, and I think when push comes to shove, they can switch it on and take it up to a level that other teams at this point just can't get to.
No, I agree. I think I can't see past the Red Roses getting that win. They're too strong. They play so expansively and they score so many tries that if they leak a couple, then it's not the be all and end all.
So what? Yeah. Whereas
Makes it more
the men,
exciting.
if the men could stop leaking tries because they don't score any,
Yeah.
then it'd be a little bit better for everyone.
Yeah,
And
it'll be nice to see, because going on to what the men's haven't done for years, it would nice to be to see, well, the women can do it, so why can't they? So that's also an added view that others may look at it.
Going on to the men's teams, but the Gallagher Premiership, I think we got some of our predictions wrong last week. There were some crazy results. Obviously, Exeter beat Bath 35-12, Leicester smashing Saints 41-17, and Bristol losing 26-41 to Sarries. 3 games to go, and I think it's all still to play for, isn't it? For Sarries, who are on 47, Bristol 49, Chiefs 54. Tigers 57, Bath 58, and Saints 62. It's not all sewn up yet, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really interesting games. I think it's Bristol versus Northampton tonight, so that'll be a fascinating game. Saracens, I believe, host Gloucester tomorrow night. Exeter travel to Allianz Stadium to play Harlequins in the big summer kickoff. I mean, that'll be probably a comfortable win for Exeter. I mean, Quince have been decimated by injuries this season, but they have just been so poor as well. I don't think they can really blame injuries for all of it. I just think we are at a really interesting point of the season where things aren't guaranteed. I think the only thing really that's guaranteed is that Newcastle yet again will be bottom. The top 4 is still there to play for. Who knows who will finish where? I think Exeter will strengthen that grip on a top 4 place tomorrow. I think they will win. Saracens at home are a really tough side to play against. Gloucester are no pushovers. We saw that last weekend. They played superbly, but I think they will struggle, and I think Saracens will pick up the win there. The big game for me has to be Bristol Northampton tonight. I think that'll be 2 sides that play some brilliant rugby, that if you're not a massive fan of rugby, if you're just getting into the game, they're 2 sides to watch. Them and Bath are all just so brilliant to watch. For Bristol at times, defending's optional. They are similar to the Red Roses in that they can score, 30 tries and concede 7 and no one bats an eyelid because they've turned on the style. So we'll see how things end up, but it is set to be another really fascinating weekend of fixtures.
I can't wait for it. And like I say, I thought Saints had sort of run away with the league and they had their top position sewn on. But I mean, obviously a couple of dodgy results as well. It's all to play for, which makes it a bit more exciting. But like I say, I think anyone could get that top 4 from Sarries upwards. So yeah, we'll stand by and see. But let's lead on to the boxing. It's Dave versus Goliath this Saturday. Dave Allen versus Filip Hrgovic. Obviously, you'll know from the group I have a very big soft spot for Dave. He's got a massive task on his hands. It is the toughest fight of his career. But even with my bias hat probably still on, I think he could do it. He's going to have to be the very best of what he's done, but he's got himself in the best shape possible. He's weighing in under 18 stone. Today, obviously, the ceremonial weigh-ins just happened. Filip Hrgovic is no pushover, like says. Hrgovic 19 wins, 14 by knockout. Only the 1 loss to Daniel Dubois, which the referee had to stop because Hrgovic had cuts above his eyes, which has happened before. So he is susceptible to it, which could be something that Dave does target potentially. Dave, 25 wins, 20 knockouts, 8 losses, 2 draws. So Dave last fought Karim Bergem in Nottingham in February. Obviously got him in and out in 1 round, 54 seconds, I think it was. He had the loss to Matt Madoff, obviously, which was an absolute war. Obviously, you look back to that 9th round against him. He only had 10 more seconds. He could have beaten him and knocked him down. Obviously, the win and loss against Johnny Fisher. So I think he can do it. it's his best chance to potentially do it and change his life. But Hrgovic, like say, last for David Adelaide won that on points. Joyce won that on points. Dubois, obviously, that loss where the referee stopped it. So it's tough. But what do you guys think? Who gets the win from an unbiased perspective?
It's a really tough one to call. I mean, Dave, as we all know, Dave's a phenomenal fighter, but he will have to be his best. He cannot afford any silly mistakes tomorrow night, otherwise it could be game over. He has got such a great opportunity in front of him. I think the fact that it is in Doncaster, 10,000 plus fans there behind him will really help. It will really spur him on, because this is just such a massive challenge. I mean, Hrgovic, that loss to Dubois, because of the cuts, they should be targeting that he is susceptible to that. But as you said, he is no pushover. It will be a tough night, but at the same time, it could be a really good night of boxing. And I think it is one that, as a neutral, I'll look forward to trying to sit down and watch it, providing that I'm back home. But yeah, it should be a brilliant night, and hopefully Dave can get the job done. And then who knows? Maybe Fury after that, if he has his way.
So yeah. with the eyebrow thing, then if the cuts are that, I guess, severe, would they have to then stop the fight?
Yeah.
So would that mean a win, or
So if the ref has to stop the fight due to cuts, obviously something that Dave has inflicted, obviously from punching, then it would be a win for Dave.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, and
cuts to eyebrows and whatever are obviously risky.
Yeah, it's kind of normal,
the issue with
it?
around the eye and everything. You have to be so careful, and obviously if you can't see, then you're a lot
can't really do anything.
Can't really do a lot. No, apparently it's a bit of an issue, but yeah, who knows?
And again, from a neutral, like obviously, if you've not really watched Dave before or really boxing, it is one to watch. Obviously, it'll be live on DAZN. His ring walk is going to be special, coming out to My Way and James at Last. The atmosphere when he came out to that in Sheffield was incredible. I wasn't there, but even watching it on TV, it gave me chills. And obviously in his hometown of Doncaster, it's going to be special. I'm absolutely gutted I can't be there, but I'll be watching at home, cheering him on, probably watching it through my hands. But again, it's a great night of boxing. Two of his fighters that he trains and manages, Cian Hamilton, looking to go 2-0. Obviously, he's only his second professional fight, and he's fighting on a massive Queensberry card on DAZN. Joe Hayden, Commonwealth silver champion, looking to go 23-0, I believe. Quality fighter Joe Hayden as well, really, really nice lad. You've got Carl Fale as well, Brad Casey, so really good card as well. And talking of Queensberry cards, one last weekend, Wardley Dubois, absolutely unreal. I think it exceeded expectations.
Massively exceeded expectations. That's for sure.
Just even like the whole card leading up to prelims, main card, absolutely unreal. Obviously wins for Jack Rafferty against Esu Ekuesman. Brad Rhea getting the win over Liam Cameron as well. Quality fights, but the headline event, Wardley Dubois, what a battle. In my opinion, it should have been called in the 8th round. I think the fact that Wardley was stumbling to and from his stall, had to be seen by the doctor a couple of times. It was uncomfortable towards the end, seeing the absolute mess Wardley's face was in. But what a fight. Like, I didn't see it playing out that way when Dubois got knocked down in the first 10 seconds and got up, and then obviously got knocked down again, I think in the 3rd or 4th round. But I think he's kind of silenced some of those doubters who said he was a quitter. But yeah, what an unbelievable fight it was. And we've heard today that Wardley has activated his rematch clause. Personally, I don't think it's the right thing. Obviously, they're looking to say it's going to be in later 2026. Obviously, I can see why, because Wardley's an absolute warrior. And you can tell by the fact that he kept on trying to go. Even when obviously his body gave up on him, his mind and his heart still was trying to go. But you can see why he wants to win those belts back. But I would have liked to have seen personally Wardley have a bit more of a rest in it. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I said last week that I wanted a war between the two. I wanted it to go the distance. I wanted two big lads just punching the lights out of each other, and it exceeded everything that I wanted. It was just an unbelievable bout. I mean, as you said, Dubois going down after 10 seconds, it felt like it was just going to be a really early night, but he showed absolute grit and determination. He was so powerful from probably about the third round onwards. It was just a clinical performance. He handled everything that Wardley threw at him and came back with almost dominance in a way. But Wardley at the same time, absolute warrior. So much heart and desire there.
Absolute steel chin as well.
Yeah, how his chin wasn't on the other side of Manchester, I really don't know. He was. I mean, he was fantastic. He on another night probably could have won, but at the same time, it should have been stopped earlier than it was. From, as I said, I think the 8th round onwards. I mean, his corner and Ben Davison said that they didn't see him staggering over to the doctor, which is fair enough. I guess it happens, but at the same time, when you've got so many people in the corner, surely one of them has got to see it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ben Davison held his hands up and said, it probably should have been. He's stopped fighters at times probably too early. He stopped fighters too late. It is always a tough one to call. I mean, I think the referee was at Howard Foster. I think got the call spot on to step in. Yeah, it was an incredible night of boxing from start to finish. The main event, just another level. Two fighters that gave their all. I think Wardley wanting the rematch is the right call. I think he'll be gunning for those titles back. Now that he's lost that undefeated aspect as well, I almost feel like the pressure's off a little bit. He's going in without the titles, without that undefeated moniker as well to his name. Maybe he can just show that it was an off night. Take nothing away from Dubois at all. He deserved the win, and all congratulations to him on being that 2-time champion now. But yeah, I think Wardley will want that comeback. I think for me, it's a case of where does it happen now? I think they need it in a bigger arena. I think after that first fight, I think more people are going to go and want to watch it. And so, yeah, who knows? Maybe a Wembley Arena or the O2 or something would be good.
Old Trafford could potentially be anyway. Like I say, it was unbelievable. Like, I think Darren Barker said it on comms, like Wardley's chin deserves a knighthood.
Yeah.
How he withstood some of those punches. And I think Dubois as well, he took some. There was an uppercut that I saw a replay of that he caught from Wardley, and it didn't shake him. And like say, fair play to him to just actually silence those doubters. But
yeah, I think I saw something about Wardley, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but I guess there was a slight aspect of truth to it that I think he connected with an early right hand that was really powerful, and he seemed to constantly try and go back for that one punch, whereas Dubois was able to mix things up a little bit. He landed a few body shots. He got some good shots to the head in there. He defended himself well. I think he clinched at the right moments as well. And I'd rather not watch boxers hug, but I think he made the right calls there. I think he boxed really clever, and I don't always give Dubois credit for having that boxing IQ. I mean, I don't give him much credit for having any IQ, in all honesty. As Wardley said, if he wasn't a boxer, he would have been a bin man. But he massively delivered, and all credit to him for that.
No, and like I say, I think Dubois should get a lot of credit for the way he boxed. Like I say, he boxed clever. His jabs and his footwork were far superior to Wardley. Like we said, Wardley kept on trying to load up with that big right hand, and he was missing. And obviously, it's tiring taking punches in the face, but it's tiring also loading up and then missing
using
as
all
well.
That power, not connecting. Yeah,
100%. But obviously that was unbelievable. But there was also a massive shock of the night with Zach Chelli beating David Morrell Jr. Obviously part-time teacher, Zach Chelli as well. So he's gone in and changed his life. And I think Morrell probably doesn't now get that massive fight against Callum Smith. I think Saccelli should get that opportunity, should get that option as well. But absolutely unreal weekend of boxing last week, and obviously this weekend as well. But it's a crazy time in boxing, a lot happening. Matchroom announced today that, again, their Sheffield cards, the headliner between Galal Yafai has been pulled. Galal Yafai injured, obviously. They were covering the headline for Dalton Smith, who's also injured. So the Sheffield card seems to be a bit...
but like England netball, Maria, they're dropping like flies.
They are dropping like flies.
Yeah. The only link you can make.
Yeah, it's a tedious thing, but I'll make it.
Yeah, but you made it. But yeah, so Josh Padley and Aki Fiaz are now headlining, but I think that card will need a bit of bolstering. But fair play to Matchroom as well, keeping the card on. They don't like to pull it unless it's very, very necessary. But yeah, that I think is us for another week. We'll obviously resume again on Friday. Another crazy week of sport, but no. Thank you for me, guys. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And I'll pray for both of your sanities with your results.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Catch up soon.
Yeah, you guys too.
Yeah, guys.
Bye.
Bye.